Hey Cultivator, welcome back to my channel. As you guys know on this channel, we release a new job search video every Thursday. So if you have not yet subscribed yet, be sure to hit subscribe. But today's video is going to be very special because instead of talking to all job seekers, I'm actually going to be addressing just those of you who are currently on an F1 visa or you're currently actively on OPT status and you really want to conquer this job search and find a role as soon as possible so that you can continue staying in this country and building up your experience and your skills. So if that sounds like you, stay tuned because we are going to cover quite a bit in this video around what your F1 visa and OPT status is and how you need to be able to educate your hiring managers and your recruiters, and also just some general tips on how to be successful in the job search process as a whole given this current status. Now, before we dive in, I want to just share a personal story about how I used to be a recruiter for about 6 years, and it literally was not until the 6th year of recruiting that I finally understood what F1 visas are. And so I share this because it's really important to not assume that just because somebody's in recruiting or HR, and especially a hiring manager, that they're going to understand what your situation is. When I first came across my first F1 visa student, I thought immediately that they needed sponsorship and they required like a visa to be able to work here. And I remember talking to the candidate and they were trying to explain to me that they didn't, but they didn't explain it in a full comprehensive way that gave me peace of mind. So I actually ended up talking to my HR team and they didn't know fully what the F1 visa was either. And so it's really important that you know how to educate the hiring managers, the recruiters, the HR professionals, because actually under the F1 visa, it's really nice because you don't need sponsorship and you can work in the US. And I'll share also that I have now, as a career coach over these past 4 years, I've worked with over 100 international students, and they have all run into very similar issues, just feeling really frustrated every time they applied online. It seemed like they got a rejection letter. Prior to working with me, it's because they just didn't know how to combat that or object the objections. But when you can learn how to do that, it opens up a lot of opportunities for you. All right, so now that we're on the same page about this being completely possible for you to land a job in the US, let's dive into how to do that. All right, so let's first start off by clarifying the OPT status and what the requirements are. So you must be able to find a role that allows you to exercise your field of study or your degree. You must be able to work at least 20 hours a week. So we're looking at part-time work or full-time work and everything in between. And then finally, you must be able to be approved to get your work permit so that you can start your 12 months or if you're on a STEM, up to 24 months additional. Right. Now, I want to emphasize something really important, and that is that you're not just starting your job search as soon as you get your approval letter or your work permit, because job searching really does take time. On average, they say a job search takes about 5 months, and so before you even get your permit, before you even fill out the application, just know that you're in full control to start your job search. You're starting to build connections. You're starting to focus on your networking efforts. You're starting to get targeted on, these are the companies that I want to work for and orient myself towards, because the connections and introducing yourself to your dream colleagues and your dream hiring managers is going to take some time. But most importantly, we have to understand that the interview process takes time. So maybe you applied to a job in March. By the time they bring you in for an interview, that could very well be April. And then depending on how many rounds of interviews this company has, maybe you have a second round interview 2 weeks later, a final on-site interview 3 weeks later, and then they'll want to do a background check and a drug screen test. That process takes time. So just trust that even if you don't have your work permit authorized and approved yet, you can start the process, because by the time you get the offer, then you can see where your application status is. You can start to talk to the recruiters and the hiring managers and letting them know when you're anticipating to be approved to work, and you can set your start date around that. I have a lot of job seekers though that come to me and they tell me that they just received their work permit and now they have X number of months or weeks to find an opportunity. And so if by chance you are in the second camp where you just received your permit and now you're just starting, it's okay. You still have options, you have opportunities. And what's really great again is that you don't need sponsorship, so you can really open yourself up to a lot of different opportunities, whether they're part-time or full-time, internships and so forth. But if you're watching this early in your process and you're still a student and you're wanting to just be proactive, just trust that you can start anytime with your job search and then negotiate your start date. I can't emphasize that enough because it will make things so much easier for you as you go along. Okay, so in order to explain the process of finding a role and joining an organization that understands your visa requirement, I'm actually going to just walk you through a case study of one of my clients, Xiao Yun, who ended up landing this amazing opportunity full-time when she didn't think it was possible, and she was actually on a time crunch. She needed to find a job within, I think, 6 weeks, and we made it happen. So I'll kind of walk you through what it took in order to get her there. So the first thing is we really worked on her mindset because she was going into her job search after just being told, like, we can't sponsor you to work in the US, even though she didn't need sponsorship. What we really focused on was building up her belief that she could get a job in the US. And one of her biggest blocks, and I see this happen a lot with a lot of foreign exchange students or those that don't have English as a native language, they start to question, can I communicate properly? I don't have perfect English. I don't have perfect or polished grammar or writing skills. So they start to doubt themselves a lot. But what I want to just give you the perspective of is that a lot of employers are actually really into building their teams filled with diversity. And that means having international employees and professionals come in because they bring forth new innovations, new creative ideas. They bring forth a new type of energy and perspective that allows the team to have better results and productivity. I've had so many international students who didn't have perfect English land amazing opportunities at companies like Facebook and Tesla and Apple and Hilton and KPMG, like these global renowned Fortune 500 organizations. So just trust that without their perfect English, they were able to do it. You can as well. What you really want to focus again on is what is the value that you bring? What is the skill that you're going to bring to the table? How do you know you're going to be a really great candidate? Maybe it's your work ethic. Maybe it's going to be your personality, your team player. Like there's so many interpersonal skills that also come into play that can really help you have an advantage versus a disadvantage. Okay, so the second part of this is getting clear on what kind of organizations do you want to work for? What kind of roles are you going to fill in those organizations? And so coming up with a target dream job worksheet is what I call it, is really, really important because then you can start to narrow down on not just who you're targeting and what companies, but also making sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile and your portfolio are really tailored towards that. So I'll share with you that in working with international students, one of the things that we really make sure of, this goes for all candidates regardless of your visa situation, it should be as polished as can be because these are your first impressions, right? In the past, I've had employers tell me that we should reject anybody who has a typo or a grammatical mistake or a misalignment in their formatting because this is the one document that they are producing and publishing, and they have time to go back and edit it and make sure that it's flawless. So especially as a F1 visa student, you just want to make sure that you put a lot of care and attention to the details and make sure that you have another second eye, review it for you, and make sure that it, again, is void of any errors that can be preventable. When you have this resume, the LinkedIn, the portfolio all polished and in place, it is now time to network and start to introduce yourself to these organizations that you want to be a part of, really tapping into your existing network as well as just cold email and cold outreach to new people. So going back to this particular client of mine, she ended up getting her job because of a cold email she sent to one of the professors inside of the university that she wanted to become an editor for. She researched the research team. She found out this is the person that I need to contact, and together we created a message that basically allowed her to introduce herself. That conversation got started. The professor was very open to having a conversation, and after learning about her experience and what it is that she wanted to do, he opened up an introduction to the HR team, and they were able to start the interview process. So upon networking and getting yourself aligned to the roles and the companies that you want to work for, I think it's really important to polish up on your interviewing skills. If you have not done a mock interview, you haven't gotten honest feedback on how you're interviewing or just presenting yourself during the process, I highly recommend that because it's really invaluable to understand what are those areas of opportunities, what can I anticipate and get practice around, and just how do I polish up some of the most common questions to position myself as a candidate that is going to be able to complete the job and immediately contribute, even if I don't have all of the experience and skills that they're looking for. So that was quite a crash course in just the various stages that you need to think about as you're progressing through your job search. But what I want to also caveat all of this with is going back to the beginning of this video, I mentioned how important it is for you to educate your employer on the fact that you do not require sponsorship. And this is so important to be able to share because, again, we can't assume just because they're a recruiter, an HR manager, they're a hiring manager, that they're going to understand what the OPT status is. So the best thing that you can do if you want to put it on your resume, your LinkedIn, your portfolio, is really putting very clearly at the top by your contact information, no sponsorship required, eligible and authorized to work in the US. This is super key. And then as you go through the interview process, should your visa status come up, it's really important for you to be able to demonstrate and articulate what that actually means. So I've created a template for you, or a script that you can share with your future employers as you're going through the interview process on what it actually means to be an OPT status and what that means for the organization as a win-win. If you're interested in the template, I also have it linked down below, and if you sign up for the free resource library, you'll get instant access to the template as well as tools and tips and resource guides for the various stages of your interview. Ultimately, if I were in your OPT status shoes, I would tell employers something along the lines of, I'm approved and eligible to work in the US without requiring sponsorship. I'm currently on a F1 visa and I do have OPT approval, which means all I will need from you as an employer is an employment verification letter, and I have an easy to fill template in case you need one. Once this is filed, I'm eligible to work until insert your month and year, and I'm fully aware after this time there is no guarantee of sponsorship. My number one priority is to join insert company so I can contribute my insert the skills that you're going to be utilizing in the position and help the company insert the problem that you're solving. For the next, insert the total number of months that you're eligible to work without sponsorship. If there is a mutual interest, please let me know if I can offer any additional information to make this hiring decision an easy one. Thank you, insert your name. So you can see from that example or template that you're just being very clear and outlining the expectations, what the win-win situation is for both parties, and again, just educating them on the fact that you actually do not require any sponsorship and you're eligible to work for this amount of time period. That is really important and key. In short, I want to just share that landing a position in the US is completely possible. It does require being able to educate and really explain what your status truly means from an employer's perspective, so that they can have the peace of mind in hiring you. I really can't emphasize this enough. As job seekers, it's our job to be able to position ourselves in the most meaningful way that makes it as easy as possible for another person to give us an opportunity or chance. And then, of course, in the position, you always want to just deliver as much value as you can. Hopefully, you're delivering more than you're receiving, and that will allow you to always be successful, get recommendations, get referrals, get promoted internally, maybe even getting an H-1B visa sponsorship. If you guys are interested in learning how to target companies that are very familiar with H-1B visas and understanding the OPT student, let me know down below in the comments if you're interested in me making a video around that. And again, if you haven't yet checked out the free resource library, there's a ton of resources out there for you. You can absolutely do this. So thank you for watching and tuning in today. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment down below, share this video with any of your F1 visa student friends that could really utilize this information. And be sure to subscribe because I'm releasing this video next week. And until then, I hope that you continue to cultivate your life and career.